Hi folks, Merlin here, bringing you another Warhammer 40,000 unboxing. So in my latest Mumbles video, I revealed my big project for 2024, and that is a brand new series of Get Started for 10th edition, featuring the Ultimate Starter Set. And yeah, it is an Ultimate Starter Set. So you get everything in the box for 2 complete combat patrols, 1 for Space Marines, 1 for Tyranids. You get a complete combat patrol sized battlefield. You also get books, data cards, range rulers and dice, and a transfer sheet for the Space Marines. So yeah, we're going to unbox that now. If you are on Patreon, you will be getting an extended look at this. I will film all of the footage at the same time, but I will do a little bit more of an in-depth look at all the frames, books, etc. for you on Patreon. So thank you if you are supporting me there. But if you're here on YouTube, yeah, let's get over to the table and unbox this. But before we do, don't forget all the usual. There's a little like button down there which helps get the videos noticed. There's also a subscribe button. We're close to 500 subscribers, so if you can get a few friends to sign up, that would be great. I might do something a little special for 500 subscribers. And of course, there's all the links in the video description, including the Patreon. So yeah, right, let's jump over to the table and we'll take a look at the Ultimate Starter Set. So here we are then with the Ultimate Starter Set, and it's a fantastically chunky box. We got this nice, almost monochrome look cover for the box. It is slightly coloured, but it's very muted. I like it. It's very thematic and cinematic. So let's flip her over first and we'll have a look at the back, which will give us all the information that we have. So we got a Space Marine Combat Patrol, a Tyranid Combat Patrol, and of course all the essentials. So the 72-page core rules book, which is the only way to get these smaller rule books. You get a 72-page handbook for getting you started, building, painting, and playing your games. 2 reference sheets, 1 for Space Marines, 1 for Tyranids. 10 dice, just as a starter set of dice for you. 2 range rulers. A Space Marine transfer sheet, 2 gaming boards, the STC Hab bunker, which is this bit here, and a set of stockades, which is, well, as you can guess, these pieces here, which will give us a nice little outpost sort of setup for our battlefield. So our models, we got a Space Marine Captain in Terminator armor, a Terminator Librarian, 5 Terminators with Teleport Homer, and 5 Infernus Marines on the Imperium side. And for those vile Xenos, we have a winged Tyranid Prime there, 3 of those awesome Von Ryan's Leapers. Can't wait to paint them. I've done 1 set already. Really lovely models. 2 Ripper Swarms, 2 units of 10 Gaunts, or 1 unit of 20 if you so choose. 5 of the Barb Gaunts and a Psychophage. So yeah. So this is a complete starter set sort of thing. It's for 2 players, can take half an hour to 120 minutes per session, depending on the size of the game, and ideally age 12 and up. So the models are easy build, so you don't need glue, but you will need clippers to cut them out of the frame. There's a handy paint and tool set you can get, which will be perfect to go alongside this. Gives you pretty much everything you need to paint your 2 armies and build them as well. Alright, let's flip this over and we'll actually open it. It is jam-packed full of frames. It is literally overfilling here. So first off, we've got the Terminators. We've got our 2 frames of Gaunts there. Both are identical. So So yeah, each set of 3 frames makes up 10 gaunts. We have the awesome Terminator Librarian. We have the Barbed Gaunts, pretty cool unit of models. Then we have the Terminator Captain and the Tyranid Prime. The Psychophage, the big beast on the side of the Tyranids, lovely model. Fully recommend painting this guy in sub-assembly so you can reach all the detail. We then have those awesome Von Ryan's Leapers, perfect sort of unit if you are going for a full Vanguard force. And finally, for our infantry models, for our combat patrols, we have the Infernus Marines. Lovely kit, can make a squad of 5, either with a sergeant or without. So yeah, a few options on there at least, which is pretty cool. Next up then, we got our terrain. So we get 2 sets of identical sprues. So we get 2 of this one, which has a long and a short side. They all interlock, which is pretty cool. Half the roof, half the top walling if you want to use it, and some extra details as well. So 2 of those. And we get 2 of these barricade frames as well. So we get 2 sections of a door, 6 sections which are just walls, which are pretty cool. Enough to give us a nice battlefield. Then we got our divider. So we got beautiful artwork there from Codex Tyranids on one side. We have a load of tokens on the side to cut out, so wound markers and objective controlling markers there. And on the opposite side, we got the beautiful artwork from Codex Space Marines, which is pretty cool. And again, you got Space Marine, Tyranid icons, and wound markers, so it's just double-sided. We got bases, but first we'll do this. We got our rulebooks in here, so I'll have a look at those in a sec. We got our dice in a little paper envelope there. So now we've got our bases. So we got the 2 50mm bases, which are for the Terminator characters, the Librarian and Captain. I think one might be for the Winged Prime, one's for the Terminator Captain, and the Librarian goes on a 40mm base, which is in here with all the others. So we've got different size bases for all the models. Then we got the large base for the Psychophage. 2 of their clear basic gaming rulers with the Warhammer hammer. So these are nice. They're not specific to a certain game system. They can be used in Age of Sigmar, 40k, or anything else that's Warhammer. We get our, if I can pick it up, beautiful large transfer sheet with Ultramarines, Dark Angels, Blood Angels, Space Wolves, Raven Guard, and Imperial Fist markings. And full disclosure, I will be using these for the upcoming Get Started. And finally then, we have our 2 double-sided battle boards. So there we have it. That's everything out the box. So now we'll go in and we'll have a closer look at those frames. And we'll open up all our card and paper components. So we'll start with the Space Marine side of things. So we got our Infernus Marines here. And yeah, these are the basic push-fit versions of the Infernus Marines. I'm still expecting them to do a full plastic kit later on down the line, as they did for the Assault Intercessors and various other kits from previous starter sets. But yeah, push-fit models, so we got loads of posts and ports to use. They look really cool. You got the options for the Sergeant there, or a grenade throwing Marine there if you want to have a more generic looking guy. Next up then is a bit of a double bill. We've got the Terminator Captain and the winged Tyranid Prime, as they are sharing the same sprue. So yeah, the Terminator Captain is fantastic. Loads of lovely detail. His head's a little on the small side, I fancy. I've tried on some other models swapping out for a different head, and it's really hard to get them to fit in the small cavity that we get for the head slot. But it's a pretty cool model anyway. I'm going to have fun with this. Might even attempt a conversion on this guy for the Get Started series. And while we got it in hand, we'll have a look at the Tyranid Prime as well. So yeah, Wings Tyranid Primes are pretty cool. Used to be known as Tyranid Shrikes back in 5th edition. But yeah, pretty cool that we have winged warriors back. Hopefully we'll see a future plastic kit where we can actually get Tyranid warriors with wings so he can join a proper winged unit. Next up then is the Terminator Librarian, and he is fantastic. Loads of inlaid runes. Really cool, brings out the Terminator armor really nicely. And finally, you can't have Terminator characters without some Terminators for them to lead. And that's what we got here. We just got a basic squad of 5 Terminators. We have the option there for the Sergeant with Power Sword and Stormbolter, and we have an Assault Cannon. But yeah, really nicely detailed models, upscaled to match in with the rest of the new Primaris range. Updated Assault Cannon there by Belisarius Call. Yeah, the Terminators look really good. I'm so glad they haven't changed them too much. Right, we've looked at the Prime. Let's look at the rest of the Tyranid stuff, and we'll start with the Von Ryan's Leapers. So, yeah, these are Vanguard organisms, very similar in appearance to lictors. But yeah, each one has a nice unique pose. We've even got one of his claws coiled up there, ready to strike. One with outstretched claws. Yeah, really cool. They even have smaller scything limbs below their main ones. Next up then, we've got the Psychophage, a really minimal component kit for such a big beastie. But yeah, here we have him looking really monstrous, devouring a Space Marine's arm there. Then next we've got the Barb Gaunts. So these are slightly bigger versions of the Termagants. They have fused to their weapons, so they are symbiotic creatures. Yeah, these guys are pretty cool. In-game, they sort of sit back and are a nice mid-range threat. They just kept bombarding the Terminators, forcing them to be very slow at getting to their position. And yeah, the next unit we're looking at, the Termagants, held them up quite nicely. So yeah, this is the brand new Termagant kit, not the full kit. We are missing the updated weapon frame, which I do plan to pick up. But I believe these are the same models as the ones in that kit. You just have the options to swap out the flesh borers here for various different other Tyranid weapons. Moving on then, let's take a look at the terrain. So, as I've previously mentioned, we get 2 of each of the terrain frames. So we get our barricades there. Pretty cool. I built 1 set of these already. There's a lot of bits to cut. Just take your time though. Don't forget to remove the small pieces on the inside there. And then finally we have our actual hab block frame as well. So you've got long wall and short wall on each of the two frames. We got a little bit of a balcony sort of section there for the roof. Options of damaged flooring or full flooring, whichever you choose. Good thing is these work perfectly with the older kits that you can used to be able to get. But yeah, really nicely detailed, with the exception of the roof. The inside, it doesn't look all that pretty, but you're not going to see that in mid-game. But you do have some nice interior detailing then, and you can even switch around which facing is outside and which facing is inside for each of your halves of the building. Right, next up we'll take a look at our rulebook and our handbook. So they're in this lovely white envelope to keep them safe and protected from the frames. We've got a little sticker to peel off. And here we have our books. So I've also got our reference cards as well there. So we got our pocket rulebook, which is just the core rules for the game that you'll need to play. Really cool, nicely updated rules for the 10th edition. Nicely goes back to some of the older rules as well, which I really enjoy. And yeah, I'll have a little bit of a closer look on that in a sec. Then we got our awesome introduction booklet. So zoom out a sec. So yeah, we got an introduction to Warhammer 40,000, the universe and setting, how to build our models. So we got choice of variant assemblies. So we're showing the assault intercessors, the full multi-part kit. So, and then here we have the important bit on how each of the scenario breaks down. So training scenario 1 is a psychophage versus a Terminator captain. So we're going straight in with some of the big kits. Scenario 2 is Terminators versus Termagants. Scenario 3 is the Infernus Marines versus the Von Reiners Leapers. And then finally, Planetfall, you will need to build your Tyranid Prime, Librarian Terminator Armor, Barb Gaunts, and your terrain, and you start playing with the full combat patrols. So yeah, we got how to build sections here. So each of our models is detailed nicely there and how to build them. So yeah, you have 2 of each of the different Termagant builds. So top tip is to build each of the 2 identical models at the same time, helps speed things up. Got the Infernus Marines there, the Von Reiners Leapers, then the Winged Tyranid Prime Librarian, Barb Gaunts, and how to build our terrain. Cool thing about this terrain is don't glue any of it together with the exception of the roof. Glue the 2 roof sections together, but leave all your wall sections loose so you can flat pack it if need be and transport it around and have different configurations. Then we got a little bit of a breakdown going into information about the different units we have, all the different chapters there. So we've got the Blood Angels, who I'll be doing in the series. Got the first founding chapters here. Then we go into a bit of background on the Tyranids there, the different units we have for the Tyranids and the different Hive fleets. So personal favourite there is Kraken, but as voted by the community, I'll be doing a classic Leviathan scheme, which will hopefully nicely actually match in with my friend's Tyranids army. And then we move into the play guides. So we got our training scenario, so we straight into their combat pretty much, and we're using the training, the back side. Even gives us examples here, what we need to hit, what we need to wound, saving throws, etc. So then we got a little bit here about collecting your 2 different armies. So grab yourself the codex and then think about what units you want to add. Other steps is to pick up the full core book, although we have this one. This is just the rules. The full core book has backgrounds and sort of hobby sections in there as well. You also want to think about which faction you're going to play, looking at the different combat patrols, which is a good way to expand these forces. So we've got Astra Militarum, Chaos Space Marines, and Eldari there as suggestions. Grabbing yourself some paints and tools. There's the paint and tool set I mentioned earlier, which is perfect to get you started. It gives you a starter brush, not the best. Pair of basic clippers and mold line remover. So just enough basic tools to get your models ready for the tabletop, and enough paints to give your models a basic sort of look. Cool. That's that for that. Then we got our reference sheets, so giving us a watered down version of the rules for each of our units, which is pretty cool. Same for the Tyranids. We got a little bit more for these guys, as there's a few more units. We even have a reference section here as well, and how to do a additional battle, how to make objective markers as well at the bottom there. So that's pretty cool. Now we'll take a quick look back through the core rules. So we've just flipped through it, but we'll have a little bit more in-depth look now. So we go straight into the introduction, going over the contents in the book, what we get and have to deal with. So we've got the core concepts, so those are missions, armies, units, your data sheets, as well as the tools you'll need. Different bits of information here, so engagement range, detailing what a battlefield is, visibility, going over the battle rounds, so your command phase, your movement phase, reinforcement step, learning about transports there, moving on to the shooting phase, how to make attacks, inflicting damage, rules for feel no pain and deadly demise, which are important for when you take damage or when you are destroyed. Rapid weapon abilities here covered, as well as, I love this artwork, goes back all the way to the older 5th edition rulebook, I believe, but beautiful artwork showing some of the Space Marine weaponry. So yeah, more weapon rules. Then we look at the charge phase before we go into the final phase of the turn, a fight phase. So we pile in, make your melee attacks, consolidate. The attack sequence is pretty much the same for shooting and melee. You just use the different profiles on your data sheets, which are covered here. So we just got a generic data sheet, breakdown of everything on the data sheet. Special deployment abilities that might be important. Our stratagems, so these are just the core stratagems. Each army faction has a small selection depending on how you build your army, which is a lot better than previous editions. I did feel it was a bit bloated with stratagems. Now we just have the basic sort of ones. Some were reworded versions of already existing stratagems that just bloated out the codex really and gave us too much. So learning about strategic reserves and terrain features, benefit of cover, what counts as what. So goes over all the different types of terrain. A couple of example battlefields there for full-scale games. And some combat patrol games. So there's narrative play, matched play, and that's pretty much it. So yeah. Then we've got the rules for aircraft, how to muster your army, choose your point size, start your army roster, select your army faction, select your detachment rules, select your units, and then finally select your warlord. Then you got how to determine your missions and set up your battlefields, all about objective markers. We got our basic only war mission. Then we go into the combat patrol rules for playing combat patrol games, which will be important for utilizing the full contents of this starter set. So yeah, good way of getting yourselves started in the game. We've got a few more missions here. There are more missions in mission packs. But yeah, that's it for the core rules. Right, next up then we'll take a look at gaming equipment. So for our gaming equipment we have our boards here. I'll open those up in just a sec. We also have our set of 10 dice in a little envelope. And yeah, they're just our generic D6 there. Pretty cool. Let's give them a roll, see how good they are. And yeah, not a single one, so that's pretty good. I think that's actually the best roll I've ever done for a set of dice. Only one considered fail, really. Everything else is top end of the dice pool. But yeah, that's pretty cool. You can keep them in the envelope if you wish, but I do suggest getting yourself a little dice bag of some kind. Other gaming equipment is, yeah, a set of plastic rulers. Much less lethal than the old red whippy sticks. But yeah, not the best. Grab yourself a cheap tape measure, I should. It gives you better range. Right, I'm going to adjust the camera and we'll look at these boards folded out. I'll probably only have space for one at a time. So here we go. Yeah, I'm struggling to actually fit it on the table in the filming area I've got. But yeah, we got pretty cool. So this is our generic baseboard side. We've got a nice deserty sort of theme. Some rocky outcrops, a dead termagant, a quicksand sort of area or dried out lake. So yeah, pretty cool. And then if we flip it over, we've got our training sides where we got wall sections here and here and here. Pretty cool. So yeah, it's just a basic Imperial facility, very reminiscent of the boarding patrol sets. So if you've got any of the terrain for those, this would be perfect for that. So here we have our second mat. We've got the training side here, which is a little bit more detailed. We've got some crates here, consoles and tools, a generator type thing, broken down door, and space for walls again. Even got a power core, some piping area in the middle there, and dead termagant and a dead space marine. And on the very top corner we got a dead ripper just off camera. Flipping it over then, we've got a continuation of that really cool arid desert theme with, again, a couple of rocky outcrops and the trails of somebody seeking water in an unforgiving wasteland, pretty much. So yeah, two nice double-sided battle boards there, giving us a full-sized combat patrol battlefield. So there we have the Warhammer 40,000 Ultimate Starter Set, which is the brand new starter set for 10th edition. And yeah, chock-a-block set. So before we talk about my final thoughts, I wanted to take a little moment to talk about Get Started 2. So Get Started was my first big series on the channel, where I went through the contents of the old 9th edition starter set with the Necrons versus the Space Marines, and sadly I lost some of the footage and the sound, so I was unable to really get around to finishing it, and I didn't have the spare components at the time to refilm. This time around I have got the spare components. I luckily have pretty much everything in this box painted, though I am doing the Space Marines in a different colour scheme, so I will be building and painting everything on the Space Marine side. The Tyranid side, on the other hand, I will build a couple models on camera for you guys in the series, but I will most likely use my already painted stuff for the actual games, so I can get through creating the content quicker. But I will, of course, build and paint models for the series as and when we add them to the collection. And as we are doing things a little different in this one, normally we start with a couple of basic units and an escape mission. This time we're starting with character and a giant monster, and we're going straight into a fight. So yeah, going to be an interesting way of learning the game. So at least we know it's not going to be too long. There's only the total of 4 missions, which is quite nice. So a basic sort of mission, a more advanced mission, a yet advanced mission, and then the final mission is for you to get on and play with the entire contents of the set with a friend and just, yeah, learn the game as you go. So yeah, get started. We'll be starting soon, as soon as I can figure out filming schedules for the contents of the set here. So then, my final thoughts for this set is it's a brilliant value set. You can't go wrong at picking this up. If you've missed out on the awesome Leviathan box, which was the same price as this, £125, this is a perfect way of getting 2 armies and a battlefield for you and a friend and getting into Warhammer 40,000. You get 2 combat patrols, which each retail usually for about £85–90. So I think they're now £95 for individual contents. And yeah, these are the exact contents of those combat patrols. They're all push-fit models. There's nothing special about it, no unique chapter icons, etc. But perfect way of getting you started. Gives you 2 basic armies, roughly 500 points. I think they're a little over 500 points. But yeah, ideal get started points for you and a friend. The books are handy. The mini rulebook is the handiest, I think, out of the 2 books you get. Once you learn the game with the Get Started handbook, you will probably not need to refer back to that unless you want to refresh yourself. It's handy for that. But once you get into the full rulebook, you will, like I said, not require the handbook. Finally then, you get the battle boards, which are pretty cool. You also get the added bonus there of the wound markers and objective markers for the Tyranids and Space Marines. For a rating, if you want a rating, I definitely give this box a 10 out of 10. It's solid, good value, 2 small starter armies. So the last thing to talk about is the price point. So as I mentioned, this set is £125 RRP. That's direct from Games Workshop. But yeah, you get more than you pay for this. You get even more if you pick it up from a third party. I actually picked this up from Goblin Games or Goblin Gaming, where it was only £100. So that is an insane value, £5 more than a single combat patrol, and you double the combat patrol, plus you get your terrain, your books, rulers, dice, transfer sheets, and of course the boards. So yeah, I will put a link for this on Goblin Games in the video description down below. And pretty much that is everything. So there we have it. That was the unboxing for the Ultimate Starter Set for Warhammer 40,000. And I've said it quite enough times in this video, it is great value. You get 2 combat patrols, terrain for the battlefield, get the battlefield itself, and all your important books and rules, dice and range rulers. So yeah, as I've shown in the video, it's great value, certainly saves money on buying everything individually. And it's the perfect place for you and a friend or family member to jump into one of the greatest sci-fi hobbies out there today. So all that's left for me to do is to say thank you all for joining me, whether this was on Patreon or on YouTube. A big thumbs up to everybody. Your support means a lot to me, and I really do enjoy making these videos. All that's left to do then is to sort out how I'm going to film Get Started 2. So once again, a big thank you to everyone who's joined in. And until my next video, stay safe and happy hobbying. Goodbye.